We gotta get this out of the way and not mince any words at all. Season 18's All RuPaul LaLaPaRuZa was trash.
This is trash.
I started drinking before this episode, hoping that maybe that would help me enjoy it a little bit more, and the alcohol didn't do a thing for me. For me, after watching Athena and Mandy sweep the floor and then see them go back to Untucked, my interest plummeted. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, J-E-R, period. No extra syllables, no extra letters, J-E-R. I filled my drink with fruit punch, and I thank you. The eliminated queens are back, and I've got to say it was great to see Mandy Mango again, but I do not understand why the judges hate her so much. I hope this diva comes back for Slasion Royale and absolutely sweeps in front of Mama Pow. Sierra Mist is the only queen to walk into the room with a dedicated return outfit, and I greatly appreciated her Carrie reference. Drag is meant to be a statement of your art, and I'm glad that she was able to, as an artist, share how she was able to feel about her elimination. She was humiliated in front of people that she thought were her friends. It felt like a bucket of blood was being dropped on her. I don't quite see the 1-for-1, but I appreciate that that's how she felt in the moment, and she wanted to visualize that by returning to the workroom wearing this outfit. The edit really wanted us to believe that it was super cringe that she did it. And yes, her elimination was completely justified, but let the girl feel how she feels. After consulting with the doctors, Briar was recommended to not participate in the lip sync LaLaPaRuZa, so she's sitting it out and gets to watch. And oh boy, they did something with her story this week. I will get into it, I'm getting ahead of myself. The thing I couldn't tell was, were they planning to do the structure of LaLaPaRuZa the whole time? Or was this shoehorned in when they found out that Briar couldn't participate, and so they just created something that vaguely made sense? Because I do think that this style of LaLaPaRuZa was interesting. It helped shell the contestants that moved further in the competition and proved their worth through challenges and lip syncs and not going home and being Ru's favorite of the bunch, and doesn't force them to participate in this obligatory lip sync smackdown for the first couple songs so that they can kind of ease into it since they already had their merit shown already. The early out queens have to prove that they can catch up. So on one hand, I kind of like the format, but then on the other hand, it's sort of like, what's happening here? I certainly don't hate the twist. I think it was very kind to the people that made it further. It just makes it a harder battle for those queens that went home early, and so I wonder about the fairness of that. Drag's not fair, Drag Race is not fair, life's not fair. Another question I have is, where the hell was all this personality all season? When the girls were kikiing up until the LaLaPaRuZa, they all had so much personality and great banter. It sort of reaffirms to me that this group is not lacking in personality in any way. The editors just didn't like them, because you don't just whip it out in the semi-final episode and show all of this charisma and personality. You have that the whole time. That never is something that goes away. So I'm very confused why all that just disappeared all season. Ru acknowledges in a very tongue-in-cheek manner that they just didn't want to shell out extra money for the other licenses. So that's cool. I guess there's no budget this season. So let's get into my thoughts about the LaLaPaRuZa, grumpy thoughts. And then I've got some viewer questions. I am a firm believer that the ball hopper is a complete sham. This is a production tool that they can make whatever happen, however they want to have happen. It's the adrenaline effect. When Naomi Smalls talked about that very first Ru LaLaPaRuZa in All Stars 4, she thought everybody got to choose their songs, but both of the suitcases that were available were loaded up with adrenaline, indicating that they wanted her to lip sync to adrenaline. Until I have definitive hands-on proof that every one of those balls has a different name on it and they all go in that hopper and bounce with movement, let me see those balls bounce. And I can see that there is no riggery or setup because those balls are huge and the name was this big. It is impossible to see if they all have unique names on them or if they're all set to be the exact same name. We just cannot verifiably prove it, and I am not going to just trust that production is doing the thing they say they're doing. I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. I will always believe that this hopper is not random, so I will be referring to it as producers choosing the lip sync partners. Round 1, producers choose Sierra to be the first to lip sync, and she gets to choose her lip sync opponent, who will then pick the song. So Sierra chooses Athena Dion, who picks the song Born Naked. Aggressive flashbacks to Drag Race Thailand Season 2, where M. Stranger Fox and Silver Sonic both lip sync so badly to this song that they had to do it all over again, and Art yelled at them and said that it was a lip sync for their life, but she didn't see any life in it. This just isn't a good song to lip sync to. I'm sorry. Born Naked is not a good lip syncable song. It's a good earworm song, but what can you do with it after only so long? For me, Athena won it the moment that she pointed to Sierra and was like, who do you think you are? Like, what is this? I was obsessed with Sierra raising up her paper doll mask as if we didn't already see her reveal. Like, no, you didn't see it. Forget about it. I know all of y'all have TikTok, iPad kid brains now. RuPaul, with your Cocomelon brain, I know you already forgot this reveal. Let me just put this up because you won't remember it in a couple seconds and you'll gasp all over. But then when she took off everything, she had boobies. Where did those come from? Mama, those looked biological. Going from Blight in Dead by Daylight to the girls in the workout acting challenge in season 3, like Sierra could have stood next to Alexis Mateo with a thingy-majingy and done that entire skit with her. Was an odd choice. I thought her presentation throughout the lip sync was messy, and for me, she did not win that by any sense of the word. It became apparent through the lip syncs who the editors preferred because they kept focusing on Athena, and that lingering shot of Sierra struggling to get out of her costume was very long. They kept showing Athena doing some great lip syncing moves. They kept showing her having good physicality, only for her to get the rug pulled out from underneath her and Sierra wins. Whereas I think Athena undeniably tore. I had to rewind it. Like, I watched it back because I heard Sierra won and I was like, huh? What do you mean? This season hates to reward actual lip sync winners, except for Nini Coco versus Jane. And y'all cannot convince me that Athena lost this, and if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I am not a big stan of Athena Dion. Like, I think she's fierce, but I'm not like drinking up the Kool-Aid. I am coming at this from such an objective standpoint, someone who loves Sierra Mist and really doesn't think that she should have gone home when she did. But I also don't think she won this lip sync. It's to me giving forced unfollowed through storyline, because tell me why, when it is announced that Briar's not lip syncing, Rue tells her that she gets to sit in this lip syncing lounge and just watch the girls from the stage. But when Athena, Briar's arch enemy throughout this season, her nemesis, is eliminated, they then send Briar back like a little support animal who is hanging out with their anxious owner back to Untucked so that they can sit with each other. What was that about? I think they so badly wanted to force something to happen between them and they were like, go back there and bother her, and nothing happened. It was stupid. Like, either send Briar back there before the lip syncs start and let her just hang out back there, or make her stay on the stage the whole time. Producers then choose Mia to lip sync, who picks Mandy as her rival, and Mandy chooses the song Just What They Want for the lip sync. And you will never, hear me, never convince me that Mandy Mango did not obliterate Mia's career within an inch of its life. Mia's whole storyline this week is that she's a choreo master, and the girls kept talking about how she's a choreo master. And that's great, that's beautiful, that's sickening, that's pussy. But is that a lip sync performance? I used to work with girls all over SoCal who were great dancers, but not great at lip syncing. They relied on their body to push them through the performance. They would rely on tricks to
look over there,
dissolve the fact that they didn't know the words or that they didn't really understand the words. They would rely on the same 1, 2, 3, 4 steps that gagged an audience. And for me, Mia just did 4 different fonts of the exact same sentence. Every one of her lip syncs were parallel lines to each other. There was nothing new or different or unique about them. Argue with someone's mom because Mandy won this. And I know that she was nogging and a lot of people really hate that. I don't live, laugh, love a Nogue, but I think that it at least was a compelling performance. I think that she connected with what the words were. She connected with the mood of the song. She wasn't just dancing to dance. And the icing on the cake was when Mia tipped Mandy's performance and threw all the money on her. It was sort of like even Mia knew what time it was, that Mandy was killing it. And this is bull, just bull. I stopped caring at this point. Production then chooses Vita to get the last ball choice, and she chooses the song Main Event, and she'll be lip syncing against Didi Fuego. I love that Didi was basically in a black version of her bubblegum look, like it had molded over the weeks and had become this nasty thing, but she didn't do anything. Like, she kept getting in the way and then doing too much, but then also not enough. It was so lacking in purpose, and you can tell that she's a solo act and does not typically get on the stage with others. Vita took ownership of her space. She was carrying that song through every inch of her body, and thankfully she won. It was the very first and one of the few lip syncs that I actually agree with RuPaul and the judges. Round 2 then begins with Jane, Kenya, and Discord joining the fight. They were essentially the Axons in Act 2 of Clair Obscur. Production first chooses Vita to get the very first choice. She picks her partner as Mia. I think Vita could have won if she picked Discord, and I don't understand why they were all tiptoeing around Discord and not wanting to lip sync against her. Is it because they didn't know what she could do because they hadn't seen her perform yet? Or what? And speaking of, Discord was basically non-existent in this edit. Like, she had less time on screen than Didi Fuego did, and that's crazy because she was the Rue favorite. So why did she disappear here? Mia's song choice is Call Me Mother. I hate this song. Aggressive flashbacks to Spicy Sunshine, losing the lip sync against Nane Sphera, but still getting to go to the next episode because Pangina loved Spicy Sunshine for some reason. I would have loved Queendom. Vita, I think, was pulling out a lot of good drag standby moves, and no tea, no shade. There's nothing wrong with that. They're a standby for a reason. They work. Mia was moving fiercely, but it was a different font in the exact same sentence that she did for the previous lip sync. I saw nothing new, but Mia was called as the winner. I completely disagreed. Production then chooses Kenya to lip sync next, who picks her partner as Sierra. And Sierra chooses the song Pretty Gang. For me, I said, I love me some Kenya Pleaser, and I was devoed when she went home. I think she's a great soundbite. I thought she had a lot of charisma and personality, and I really felt like the edit was dogpiling her. Conversations about her lip syncing style, deserved or not a part of the point. She had a very solid story all season that was building up that she could not perform and lip sync at the same time. And this lip sync LaLaPaRuZa was a great opportunity to show that she did have the right stuff. The right stuff, baby. And she did not prove that in this first lip sync. She lost it. And her problem for me as a lip syncer is that her mouth is very small. She paints her mouth small too. She doesn't accentuate her mouth. And you don't have to do Miranda Sings clown lips or anything. You need to have some type of bigness to your mouth if you're a small mouth lip syncer and you need to chomp. I'm thinking about Jujubee. You give good mouth. When you lip sync, you have to open your mouth. And I'm not saying that Sierra was the best lip syncer of the night. She certainly was not. But I think that she was stronger than Kenya because I saw her mouth chomping more. I watched it twice to make sure I was not on crazy pills. I think Kenya had some good movement and she had good stage presence, she had good attitude, but I could not tell if she knew the words, and it was such a huge part of her storyline. That's important to me. And the edit kept cheating away from her. It was like the editors didn't think either one of them deserved it, so they barely showed us anything. Rue chooses Kenya to move on. This was not her win. This was Sierra's, I guess, but they both probably could have been eliminated. I don't know. Production then next chooses Jane to lip sync, and she picks the song Sissy That Walk for the dramatic irony that she was paired up with Discord, who had the famous walk that RuPaul loved so much, and then proceeded to swipe Discord's walk and poke fun at her a little bit. I think she won immediately in that opening monologue, talking about she had a great opportunity to create a huge gag-worthy joke moment. Discord was performing so poorly in the lip sync that I was sure that she was gonna get progressed to the next round. Like, she did not know a bunch of those words, she kept lip syncing at the wrong cue, but Jane gave an overall silly performance, and I think for this song, it worked. Rue called Jane as the winner, which I agreed with, I guess, because Discord certainly didn't earn it. And then the last round involves Juicy, and she is brought in like Renoir at the end of Act 3 of Expedition 33. Producers first choose Jane to choose her partner, and I think this was strategic. It was to give her a Sophie's choice. Who do you want to go home to? Do you want to go home to Mia? Do you want to go home to Juicy? Or do you want to maybe not go home to Kenya? Maybe, depending on how things go. She said that she knew that Kenya as well as Mia wanted to do the song Peanut Butter. I don't know. I would have risked it. Because the song Peanut Butter is a comedy song first and foremost. It is a song about this diva who's out here spreading her legs and making some coin. And that's fierce. But you can make so much fun of that song and have a great time with that song. You don't have to throw ass to that. But she chooses her poison as Juicy loved Dion and got obliterated. That moment where Juicy turned upside down to do her costume reveal, I have never seen that and I genuinely gagged. It is such a disservice to us as audience members that we did not get to see Juicy perform like 6 times tonight. Because imagine the levels of pussery that we could have perceived from seeing her do all of those tricks again and again, because Juicy lip syncs with intention. Her tricks and her moves and her splits are not ill-timed. They're not out of sync with the song. They make sense with what she's doing. Juicy chooses the song Cha Cha Bitch, which this is like Jinx getting Malambo number 5. Like, was anyone gonna win with Juicy Love Dion in Cha Cha Bitch? Like, let's all be so real with ourselves. Helen Keller could see who was gonna win this lip sync, no tea. I did like when Jane realized that she was cooked and sort of was like, well, I can't do that, but jazz hands. And then swept the floor. It was a great bit. It was a nice way to acknowledge, well, I mean, let's pack it up. I don't need to waste any of y'all's time. Let's just continue to have a good one. And she put on a great show. I think she kept up well with Juicy, and that's hard to do. Rue calls Juicy as the winner of the lip sync, which I completely agree with, but I could also see exactly what they were setting up. I could tell that they wanted a Mia versus Juicy part 2, get that lip sync smackdown that they already had in the midpoint of the season. That means Mia and Kenya have to lip sync to Peanut Butter, which again, this is not just a dance song. This is a comedy song. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the lyrics to this bitch.
Oh, wait a minute, bitches.
Your mama's in the kitchen, but the oven's on the fritz. Your daddy's in jail, raised in hell, and your sister's on the corner selling peanut. I don't need to keep going. Mama, this is comedy first. For me, Kenya made me laugh, which is the point of this song, in my opinion. Mia was just there, and she was fierce, but that's not what the song was about. And so, for me, I was kind of getting bored of this idea that her dancing and choreo was gonna carry her through the lip sync. It's not a choreo sync, it's a lip sync. It's a performance, and dancing is a form of performance, but Kenya was performing. For me, Mia is called as the winner. Wrong, incorrect. This was Kenya's redemptive moment, if I ever saw one. Even if I think she lost her first lip sync, she won this one. And also, how are you gonna have a song called Peanut Butter, and the whole idea is that you're supposed to be twerking for your life, and Kenya did that, and Mia didn't. Argue with the wall. And then Juicy and Mia have their redemptive moment to cover girl. Juicy, as expected, tore. Her flips, her tricks on beat gagged the out of me. But it all made sense. It's not just performative dancing. She doesn't just do it to do it. Everything that Juicy does in a lip sync is with intention. And then Mia taking a break to add liquid lipstick to only 1 centimeter of her lower and upper lip was a massive mistake. It drew way too much attention from the lip sync.
That's confusing.
And Juicy wins the LaLaPaRuZa, which, like, duh. Clap if you're surprised. Someone posted a really interesting infographic that showed all of the lip sync LaLaPaRuZa winners over the last streak, and it was Morphine, Susie, Juicy, Roxy, Ginger, and Latrice, who are all Florida queens, if I'm not mistaken. So Florida's the reigning lip sync LaLaPaRuZa champions as of right now. I'm glad that Juicy finally got some flowers, but to have her be the traditional Florida girl, wins the LaLaPaRuZa, carrying the torch, was that really all that they wanted to do with her storyline? I feel bad for Juicy because they wasted her potential all season. They built her up as having the Dion dynasty behind her, that her family was carrying her, but as they were shed, she finds herself and she comes into her own. She's able to tackle the conversation about her addiction and show who she is, be really proud of her culture and her background, and show more of that personality. As she swept the Karen challenge and the makeover challenge. She had a little stumble in the Good Morning Bitches challenge, but
Oh, wait a minute, bitches.
no more so than anyone else has in the near finale, and they cut her because they wanted her to win the crown. She already had hers is. I don't know. Next week is the finale, and I'm really ready to close this chapter of Drag Race, but it is interesting that we have nothing to fill the gap. I was expecting Latino Royale to be announced. I was expecting, hell, even Drag Race Japan or Drag Race Bryce Espana All-Stars 2, or literally anything. And so we're probably just gonna have a really dry April, which is odd. So let's get into some viewer questions. I asked on my main page for y'all to share any questions you had about season 18, so here we go. Citrine the Corgi asked, what top 3 were you originally expecting? I for sure thought it would be Jane, Nene, and Vita. So based on the initial challenge, the first challenge winner always goes to the finale. So I thought it was gonna be Nene for sure. Like, I thought she would be top 4. I didn't think they were gonna bring it down to a top 3. I thought that Vita was gonna go really far because she was such a great designer that I thought maybe she would be like a 5th or 6th out. I did not think she was gonna go home as early as she did, but I definitely thought she'd go far. I also got a sense that Kenya was gonna go to the end. I thought she'd get there by charisma and charisma only, because I didn't think she had the aesthetics to get there. That was a big ol' miss. And I guess like delusionally Darlene, but I thought maybe there was a possibility that Jane was gonna go far because they seemed to really like her. Felix Fletcher asked, is the lack of drama the show's fault or the cast? Keep hearing about how shady Nene was, but never see even a glimmer of that in the edit. I agree, and I talked about this. They only showed it like one time and tried to be like, oh my god, she's so shady, but they didn't show enough of it. I think based on this episode and this episode alone, it is so clear that this cast has personality, but the edit for whatever reason didn't show it. I think that they have been bored of this season since it started, and I think that they've made no effort to try and mitigate that. And there was more to this question, but I really think ultimately it comes down to the edit. And I think the intro of this episode proved that. This group has personality, they've got banter. You don't just whip something like that out at the finale and it doesn't exist at any other time. I'm pretty sure you pronounce this Sarian Light asks, looking back at the season as a whole, do you like the mid-season Rada Queen? Absolutely, I freaking do. I loved the mid-season Rada Queen. I think that it was a great opportunity to play off of the social game. We usually only see that happen near the beginning of the season when they do the early Rada Queen, and then we'll see social game kind of crop up late game when they ask the big question. We sometimes see social game pop up in those little mini challenges where they ask them disturbing and unnatural questions like, who farts a lot and who do you think is the booger and is gonna go home today? But having Rada Queen be kind of in the middle of the season capitalizes on some of that friction that already exists. I just think they used it on the wrong challenge. And the last question I'm gonna answer for today is from Kindly Sharp Unity, who asks, how do you feel about having all white final during this administration? Do you think that would not matter or else? I am a Latino, but I understand I have white privilege. I do not speak for any people of color at all, but what I can speak to is years of reviewing Drag Race and reading comments from people of all walks of life that see themselves in some of these finalists across the decade plus of Drag Race, that see someone that looks like them get to a certain point in the competition and then either get snubbed for what appears to be a microaggressive reason or for no reason at all. They see themselves in people that make it to the end and see how important it is to them to see someone that looks like who they are. I don't think anyone should be pushed to the end just because they're a person of color. Everybody should have a fair chance to get to the finale, but the key word there is fair. And oftentimes there are certain demographics of queens that appear to be snubbed early or before they even get to certain challenges for what appears to be microaggressive reasons. And it's important to understand that everyone brings something special and unique to the table. But sometimes it comes across like the show doesn't recognize that they just look at someone and allow whatever biases they have to not let them see their greatness. And there are always people, anytime I bring this up, that always say not everything's about race, while being so stupid and moronic and dense that quite literally everything in the United States of America is built on racism, is built on slavery, is built on stolen land. You can not like that all day long. It doesn't negate the fact that it happened. Colonizers came to this place and killed indigenous people to take their land. There were people shipped from across the world to build everything that is here. Our society up until the 50s was segregated. Quite literally, our society is baked in racism. And it is ignorant and naive and moronic to even think that race does not play into everything that happens. And everybody can be racist. Doesn't matter if you are also a minority. And sometimes it comes across like some demographics are targeted specifically because of their race. Whether that is ever expressed or not, the pieces just start to come together and you start to wonder, why is Drag Race like this? This is supposed to be a safe space that acknowledges that all drag is valid and all drag is good, but that's not the case. That's not what Drag Race really is. Drag Race is a microcosm of what happens in the larger part of the world, and you can go to many a green room and many drag spaces and find that queens of color are segregated against, and they're not given the same opportunities. They're not given the same pay rate. They are not treated with the same amount of respect and dignity. That happens. That is an objective fact. Drag Race is supposed to be better than that, and it often is not. And I'm not saying any of this to say fact, because I don't know. I don't work on the team. You have to use your brain to think, why is it that certain queens are not given the same opportunities? Why are they not afforded the same amount of grace and dignity and respect that white queens are? To answer your question, all of that roundabout, I think it's kind of up that so many queens of color this season were not given the same opportunities. That some of them were not afforded the same amount of care that some of the white queens were. It is frustrating and it's disheartening, and it does not allow people of those groups to see themselves. They only see, once again, that whiteness is the thing that's celebrated. That's what that message comes across as. There's enough conversation around the internet of people who are a part of these marginalized groups who are sharing sentiments about not seeing themselves represented in the finale, who I think have a lot of expertise on this and should share their stories, and you should go seek out those opinions too, not just mine, because again, I do have white privilege. I am a light-skinned Latino. I do not suffer the same problems that people who are darker than me experience, but I still carry my culture, I carry my identity. I think it's disheartening, ultimately. TLDR, I would love for Drag Race to afford everyone the same opportunities and not just praise whiteness again and again. I don't mean to leave this on such a sour note, but this has been a sour season, and a lot of people keep asking who I'm rooting for. I don't know, Darlene, I guess. Mikey's cool, Nene's not gonna win, so I don't know, Darlene, I guess. She's had some really great fashion moments, and I love that she's a bedroom queen and she doesn't really care. She just does what she wants to do, and I think it would be a good message for the show to follow through on this story that they've been saying all season, that she just does her own thing. She marches to the beat of her own drum. That's very much a RuPaul archetype, and not being the most polished, quote unquote, she's like doing her version of polish. I think that is who I'm rooting for, but I don't know if I care that much is really the thing. Who are y'all rooting for? I don't know. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts about this episode in the comments below, and I will see y'all on the flip.